Hello, and welcome to another episode of Part in the Dust, Dusting Off Construction with Caitlyn and Jillian. We're your hosts, Caitlyn
and Jillian,
and we're here dusting off the topic of the National Precast Concrete Association with Nick Rhoad from the NPCA. So let's get to it. Nick, could you please introduce yourself and the organization?
Hey, Caitlyn, Jillian, Nick Rhoad from NPCA. What's happening today?
Not much. Very excited to chat with you today. So how's it going on your end?
It is such a great day. You know, I looked at the calendar here and rolling up in May, I realized that it will be my wife and I's 20-year wedding anniversary this May.
Congrats.
So big events all around, professionally, personally, and just having a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. One of the reasons that she went out on that first date with me is that she said, "I'll go out on a date with you if you promise to stop talking." And I said, "You know what?" I said, "It's been a really, really long date, which has included marriage and 3 kids." So, it works. So I'm happy to be here on this podcast. And we said, "Hey, Nick, can you come on and talk about NPCA?" I said, "Talk? Fantastic. I'd love to talk about Precast. I'd love to talk about NPCA and just, reach out and see what's good and new with everybody."
Yeah, absolutely. I know. So, of course, you're newer to the organization. And so we would also just love if you could tell us more about your background and the skills that you bring to the NPCA.
Sure, absolutely. Well, first of all, the members of the NPCA and precast concrete industry have just been absolutely so welcoming. And the NPCA board of directors is there every step of the way to support the industry and to support the staff here at headquarters. The members, and even from the time that we had Caitlyn back at the Precast show, everybody loves to talk to everybody. And, eventually you get old enough into your adulthood that stranger danger is fun. I've never ever met a stranger that I didn't know, and building and maintaining relationships personally, professionally, and especially in the precast concrete industry, it is built on those relationships, and they are some of the most important things to value and to nurture.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the big things that we kind of realized as a company within this past year is just relationship building is really important because, we're all just kind of a big family all trying to, teach the world about precast concrete, but also just kind of forming relationships and helping everybody along the way.
It absolutely is. And, here at headquarters, from my background, I was working at another association where the staff was dispersed across the country. Mm-hmm. And so it was virtual, and it was virtual prior to 2020. I love getting back into an office and being around people. The staff here at NPCA headquarters are some of the most dedicated, hardest working association staff with whom I have ever known. They work tirelessly for the industry and our members so that we can continue to make sure that precast is positioned and known as the #1 most durable construction material around.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've, of course, interacted with several of you guys over at the NPCA headquarters. And I always have a great experience. And we all, again, we're all always helping each other figure out what we need to do and how best to do it. So I've always had a great experience with all of you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. So when did you first, I know that you're the one doing the interview, Caitlyn, but when was your first interaction with NPCA?
Actually, it was probably maybe the first month of me starting in this position. And I had not, this is the first time I've worked in the precast concrete industry. And as a marketer, I kind of need to know my audience. So I was like, how am I going to learn my audience? I actually reached out to Heather, and we jumped on a little call so I could ask her some questions about, precast producers and how to kind of best communicate with them, because I wanted to make sure what I was doing, reflected how it would like to be spoken to. So that was my actual first interaction.
Well, look, it's great to be able to do this and have an audience and an open channel to talk about precast and NPCA. Technology is so absolutely awesome. And the ability to do this and reach audiences and constituencies that we would never have a chance to talk with before. Mm-hmm. But I'll also tell you, Jillian and Caitlyn, that technology is never, ever a replacement for answering the phone or shaking someone else's hand. And that is really what I think is one of the really cool things based upon those relationships that we talked about a minute ago that makes Precast so absolutely awesome is that our members, they know each other. They are not afraid to invite another member into their plant to talk about their processes or how they do things. And it's just so unbelievably welcoming. So even though you have that technology, those personal relationships and shaking someone's hands, it should never be a replacement for it. And I'd also like to make the claim that technology is never, ever a replacement for CB radios. Those are a ton of fun.
Yes, absolutely. Also great that you mentioned that too, because ever since you joined the NPCA, of course I started following you on LinkedIn because that's what we all do, and I saw that you've been active in visiting NPCA producer members at their plant locations. So at this point, I kind of want to know, how many have you been to so far? Have you been keeping count?
I try to keep count. But one thing that I can tell you about visiting these plants in multiple states at this point is that I love the smell of precast in the morning. It is so cool. It is so awesome to see raw materials come in and come out as a finished product.
Yeah.
Manufacturing is one of the true last vestiges of American greatness. It is what built our nation, and it's what continues to build America from jobs and infrastructure. The idea and the concept of these creature comforts that we have, the so many facets that precast touches that we don't even think about, from the time that you wake up in the morning to go into the bathroom and brush your teeth. Precast has to be in place. Your alarm on your iPhone doesn't go off if the cell phone tower is not working, and that cell phone tower has precast in it, in the base of it. To go in and turn on the hot water, there has to be precast involved in the storm and sewage drains. So our creature comforts of life are made so much more comfortable by precast.
Absolutely. I remember when I first started, again, back to when I first started and learning about precast concrete. And then once you step back into the wild, you just see it everywhere because it is everywhere. You can't really turn a corner unless you're literally in the middle of the woods and not see precast concrete.
It's everywhere. And I'll tell you what, even though you're in the middle of the woods, there very well may be some infrastructure that is underground that you can't see.
That is also very true.
Yeah, when I first started, found a couple of years ago, I saw a diagram online. It was, just a city cut in half so you could see inside the buildings and underground, and it's really top to bottom precast concrete touches a city or any sort of society. And that's really the heart of it, is that we're maybe invisible, but we are supporting everyone around us.
It's all around us.
Yeah, well, also back to your visiting at the plant locations, I wanted to also know, like, what has been your favorite part about that experience? And I know you said, you love the smell of precast first thing in the morning, because who doesn't? But is there anything like that you saw and witnessed that really spoke to you?
I'm going to tell you, there's two really awesome things about it. Is when you can see a design come off of the CAD or off of paper with those specs. It even starts with the specs, to look at the specifications from maybe a DOT and then see it in real life in 3D. That is so absolutely awesome, where it comes from design and vision to an actual product that is getting installed. And that is one of the coolest things. The other is the work ethic of this industry. Precast is not just a job, Caitlyn. It is a career, and it can be a career, which is why we need to continue to make career and vocational education a priority in all of our schools, regardless of where someone starts in life or where they want to start. The work ethic and the habits that are developed in this industry to be able to make amazing products that are going to provide service and utility to everyone is so absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
The transfer of generational knowledge in this industry is like no other. And I firmly believe that the precast industry is standing at the edge of an era of growth and opportunity like no other. We have entrepreneurs. It was so awesome. We had two young women, I would say that they might have been in their late 20s, came up to my team at the Precast show, and they said, we're new to Precast. We just bought a plant. What do we need to know to get started?
They said,
And
wow.
I thought that is one of the coolest things to see. And they came to NPCA to have a conversation about our plant certification program and wanted to connect with our engineers. And that tells you that there is still that entrepreneurial spirit of capitalism that is alive and well in the precast industry.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that, precast is on the forefront of this giant growth and modernization as well. Have you seen anything that's maybe your favorite or the most interesting innovation you've seen recently at a plant?
Well, I did learn what a vomitory is, which is, you come into precast and you learn a whole slew of new vocabulary.
Absolutely.
And I can't believe that I've waited this long in the conversation to say it, but it's not cement, it's concrete.
Yes.
And that is one of the mottos that we live by here at the National Precast Concrete Association. In fact, we have it on our shirts. You've seen the shirts.
Oh, yes.
It's on our stickers. And coming soon, it has actually been trademarked.
Oh, wow.
And it is not trademarked to, if somebody says that phrase, it's not trademarked to go after that person that might say it. It's trademarked because it's true.
Yep.
And cannot be more proud of the industry to be able to represent them in being, the backbone of this infrastructure modernization that's currently transforming our country.
Yeah, I remember that was like one of the first things that was told to me. It's not cement, it's concrete.
Yes.
Like, got it.
That is new employee onboarding 101. Right.
Cement is an ingredient. It's,
Yes.
Yeah, it's like calling bread flour. It just doesn't feel right.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Exactly.
So what else is going on? What other fun facts that we can chat about with about NPCA? One of the things, actually, we can go down this rabbit hole if you want to, with our mission of the organization, people say, well, why should I join an association?
Yeah.
You have a generational transformation that's taking place in industry, but there's also a generational transformation taking place with associations and members. And really kind of starting with my generation, we're not really a generation of joiners of clubs or organizations or associations. So some people say, well, Nick, why should I join the NPCA? When you're part of the National Precast Concrete Association, what you're really doing, and even going through our plant certification program, it's a guarantee of quality. And it's a guarantee of service, and it's a guarantee of, you're part of an industry because you believe in doing what's right. You believe in accepted manufacturing practices so that you can all work together to move the industry forward.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's one of the other things that, it is kind of overlays in the conversation that we're having here today, not just about precast, but about the value that NPCA brings to the precast industry.
Yeah, and I know you guys also have, so many resources for precasters to review and keep up to date with. Of course, you have the Precast show and plenty of other events throughout the year. Do you want to elaborate on any specific event that you guys host? Besides, of course, everybody knows the Precast show.
But
you have more.
The Precast show is the largest manufacturing concrete products show around.
Yes.
And it is a place to do business. It is a place to be seen. It is a place to be heard. And it is a place to see and hear and learn. It is, without a doubt, one of the most amazing things that I've ever seen. What is remarkable is you will have 5,000 attendees, and the amount of people that know each other by name, that have had 40-year relationships with their fellow precasters. They know each other's families. They know their business. They want their fellow precaster, even if someone owns a precast plant, you know, 100 miles down the road, they want them to be successful. And they are as equally welcoming to the new kid on the block, which is just so absolutely awesome. But more importantly, the question isn't about what is my favorite event for the organization. What I want to tell someone is about getting involved in NPCA. If you care about precast, we've got a spot for you. Don't ever say, well, I don't think I'm ready to be on a committee yet, or I don't think I'm really qualified to attend. If you're there, you're qualified. If you want to serve, we've got a committee for you. We are developing tomorrow's leaders today, and you have got to have a seat at the table. We want to welcome you. We have a big tent here at NPCA, and it has never been a better time or a more exciting time to be part of the precast conversation.
Yeah, 100%. Apologies. How many producers, or just really how many members do you actually have part of the NPCA as of right now?
Right. So we have nearly, I would say we have nearly 700 manufacturing locations throughout the United States.
Wow.
And we have, I would say probably around 350 non-producer members. So we're a growing organization.
Absolutely.
And you could say, well, my organization doesn't touch precast, so NPCA is not right for me. Just like any other manufacturer, right? There's an amazing transformation taking place with technology. There are technology solutions, there are AI solutions, there are workforce innovation solutions. This is the place where the fun is. It's where the action is. So it's not so much about the quantitative, how many locations do you have and where are they? It's more about what is it you're trying to accomplish as an industry. And you can have 700 locations, but if they're not marching in lockstep with in lockstep with industry trends and trying consistently for professional development and bettering the industry every single day, then it doesn't really matter how many plants we have, members we have. What matters more is that our members are involved, they're engaged, and they're bringing friends with them to NPCA.
No, I fully agree with what you're saying. It doesn't matter how many people you have, because if they're not involved, then, you guys aren't progressing and nothing is going to get done and nobody's gonna, benefit from the association if nobody's helping.
And I think the best example of just everyone being so involved that I've seen is the Precast show, where everyone is there, everyone's asking questions, and they're doing exactly what we were talking about at the beginning. You're shaking hands, you're getting to know people, and you're creating those connections in that community. And that's really what the NPCA is providing with the quantity of people that are coming to, the Precast show and all the other events. And that's a testament to the environment that we're all part of, and we're all fostering together.
So I'm curious, talking to a couple other folks that are, in the precast world, what was your biggest surprise, Caitlyn?
About when I came into the industry,
about coming into the precast world. What was your biggest surprise, and what was your biggest myth that was busted?
As I had mentioned earlier, just really realizing how much precast is actually all around us. And just, I saw it every day. I used to live in Boston, so I definitely saw it every day. And once I finally had the rose-tinted glasses off of not realizing precast concrete's a thing and being able to now look at the world in a whole different way. I think all the times that I just kept pointing out to my friends, all of the precast concrete around me started bothering them. And I still do it to this day. But that was, I think that's still like my most surprising realization when I got into this industry. What about you, Jillian?
I think the most surprising thing to me was how many companies really value family above all else. And there are so many precast businesses that are handed down generation to generation that sometimes we'll talk to someone and they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm a 5th generation owner of this business, which I think is incredible that, their great, however many times grandparent built this business from the ground up, and they're able to continue that on and help their community and their family through this business and great thing that they build on a daily basis and build up their community, both physically and metaphorically. I think that was really shocking to me, that there are so many like heirs almost to the to the precast throne, if you will, that still exists today. Because I didn't know that businesses still really did that. I guess that's just me coming from the more technology side and the more science and technology side of things, where businesses are new and popping up every day, but precast really has been around forever. It feels like at this point. So that was the most shocking thing for me, I think.
So one of the most unique pieces of precast that's still around is from Roman days.
Yeah,
and there was an aqueduct that was built by, I believe, I'm going to probably get the emperor's name wrong, but I believe it was Emperor Claudius who oversaw the construction of what would have at the time been equivalent to their precast, which were underground storm drains.
Yep.
And that's left over from Roman times. So precast really does live beyond our lifetime.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's super interesting to see. One of my other favorite tidbits, if I do want to share, is that there was a recipe documented for concrete back in Roman times, but it just said water. And to us, water meant something different than it did to the Romans, where it was seawater, which was essential because of all of the minerals in the seawater near where they lived. And it took us so long to get concrete that was nearly as strong as what they did. Obviously, with modern day science and experimentation, we've been able to reproduce it and improve upon it. But I think that's so incredible that technology really was so far ahead of its time and potentially lost for a little while there. But that's always a fun little thing to think about as well.
That is a fun fact. I didn't know that little story.
Yeah, it's like how all our recipes say eggs, and we mean chicken eggs. But in 200 years from now, they might not know that chicken eggs is what we are. When they say eggs or milk, for example, is cow milk, but now oat milk and soy milk. That's super common. Yeah.
You know, we have some ducks that at home, and for years people use duck eggs for baking. And you just don't see them in the grocery store. It can be a little off-putting if you've never had one when you see a duck egg. But I'll tell you what, if you ever want to bake or use cake, you only need one. You don't need the 2 eggs.
Yep.
But it dramatically changes the taste for the better. But it's just one of those where you just don't think about it, but it really changes it up.
Yeah, I also had a couple of ducks not too long ago, and it was the best because I also just generally preferred the duck eggs over chicken eggs. I had both ducks and chickens, but definitely for baking because they're just, the composition is different and it's far better.
Some days our ducks actually listen better than our 2 dogs do. But back on the precast, we talked about, both of you were really awesome in talking about some of the surprises. One of the unique perspectives that I'm able to gain here is that I regularly talk with CEOs and business leaders all across our nation, and some are in precast, some are not. One thing that I can tell you is that precasters are the envy of other manufacturers. They are so absolutely mesmerized by the collaboration that exists in this industry, and they don't see it in the other industries where they serve. And so when we talk about this generational knowledge transfer, when we talk about even helping out a competitor down the street, I did one of the plants I toured. He was bending rebar for another precaster who was 20 minutes down the road. It's a competitor of his. And he said, well, Caitlyn's rebar machine went down. So I just said, you know what? Don't worry about it, Caitlyn. I'll go ahead and bend the rebar for you. I'm not going to make profit off of it. I'm just going to charge you, at cost for my employees' time on the machine. That was it. And so they recognize, the precasters and the members of the NPCA recognized that, yes, we need to build successful businesses, and we need to be there for our fellow precasters, because if they are successful, the industry will be successful.
Yeah. And I think that's also a testament to just how much volume precast concrete goes through every year. Obviously it's a great community and people are willing to support and uplift everyone around them. But at the end of the day, the competition does exist, but the quantity of need far outweighs what we're able to produce because it's just everywhere. So I think it's a great testament to just how much concrete gets produced and created and used each year as well. To, we need to lend a hand to our friend because we can't handle all of our volume and neither can they. And we need to make sure that we support our customers the best we can. And I've seen a lot of that in the industry of the producers we work with are really the front and the biggest focus of what they do every day is pleasing their customer and providing the highest quality of product that they can. And that's really what drives them. That's what I've seen, at least.
Absolutely. Let's try some other really, cool things that we're doing here at NPCA is that we really want to try to focus next year and in the years ahead talking about workforce innovation. Our nation is having a very serious conversation about skilling up the next workforce. And I meant what I said earlier when we talked about precast is not just a job, it is a career.
Yep.
And I look at that in the context of manufacturing and specifically precasters. We need to be positioning our precast industry and our precasters and our manufacturers so that they can keep and retain the employees that they have and attract the ones that they need for the future. And if we can figure out a way to do that, we will set up precast for even greater success and the next generation of workers for that amazing success like they can never imagine.
Yeah. And I know, of course, we all are aware that everybody's having, labor issues, and especially the precast concrete industry currently as well, just really generally construction. Do you have any tips or suggestions for precast producers who may be struggling with finding, people to work in the plant?
I think what we need to have a couple conversations about that. And one, the first thing is stay tuned from NPCA because you haven't seen anything yet. Got a little, I'll tease it that much.
That's totally fine. You do not need to disclose anything more.
But it's going to be awesome. It will be like something you ain't seen nothing yet, I guess is how the song goes, right?
Yep.
But more importantly than that, if they're struggling with it, this nation, we've done a disservice in this nation for years by building really awesome manufacturing plants and then putting a fence around the outside of it in a guard shack at the front and then telling everybody, no, you can't look in here.
Mm-hmm.
And we've done our kids, we've done manufacturing and our country a disservice from turning an eye to that. The other thing is that I always say, it's been on my desk for years. I've got a crisp $100 bill for anyone that can define the difference between advanced manufacturing and manufacturing. We have come up with words that don't have meaning or definition. When you say advanced manufacturing, what kids think of is, oh, I can just sit and run an app and not get dirty. Or somebody else will do that for me, or some other computer or robot will do that. Well, guess what? Somebody's got to program the robot, somebody's got to service the robot, and somebody still has to be out there on the factory floor.
Yep.
And we need to be very mindful about the words that we use and how we talk about manufacturing and, not turn away from it like we have for the last 20 years. We need to continue to tell the story about how manufacturing is a career, how it is the backbone of on some of the fundamental principles on which our nation was founded. And anybody can start as that dispatcher or the kid sweeping the floor and run the plant or own the plant someday.
Yeah.
If you want to work hard, there is a career for you in precast.
Yeah, just the amount of people that I've, spoken with that are in upper management in precast, and learning that they've been there for 30 plus years, and they just started by pouring concrete, and now here they are as plant manager, running
Right.
all the operations from day to day. And of course, they have great insight because they were there. They know everybody's role because they've done that role. And so it's definitely, there's so many opportunities just to continue, learn more, and, eventually potentially become a manager if that's what they so choose to do.
Exactly. It is remarkable. So here's what I would prefer to do. If you've never attended a precast show, you need to.
Absolutely. I fully
And
agree
they
with
get to
that.
hang out with the two of you. And so, they just might end up on one of your episodes.
It's definitely possible. I know Jillian and I had a great time collecting all the little ribbons to go underneath our badges.
We did.
I was very proud. This was my first precast show, which I know, Nick, it was also your first precast show. I know I put that first precast show ribbon was the first one I put on. I had a great experience as my first time at the show. How was your experience, Nick, being there? And I mean, of course, you've already met a bunch of people, but now you get to meet even more and just kind of continue to share the NPCA with everybody.
I can tell you the feedback that I got from my chairman is, for the first time ever, they said it was the first time the president CEO of the NPCA showed up on the convention floor wearing a screen print T-shirt and not a suit. And somebody said to me, I said I was supposed to wear a suit. I didn't get that memo. So it was fun. I had the best time ever. And our board chair, Bill, will say, well, golly gee, Nick doesn't look like a precaster. But then again, I don't know what a precaster looks like. To which I always follow back up with, well, I don't know what a CEO looks like either. But the best line of the show week went to one of our members, Betsy, and Betsy followed me up on stage, and Betsy's always impeccably dressed and, had on, some, power jeans out, and she said, this is what a precaster and a CEO looks like. So I thought that was really kind of the best line of the whole week. There is a place for everybody in precast, and that is the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway that I can recognize from that show is that it's a big tent. There's a cultural shift, there's a generational shift taking place, whether it's in science or engineer or design. We have a program called Master Precaster.
Yes.
And so that is that is a training program and will teach you the ins and outs of precast. And it is an amazing designation to earn. We had more women graduates of Precast University this year than any year before. And I think that's absolutely awesome.
Yeah, that's very cool. I do know of the Master Precaster and all of the training that can go into it. But for those who are not as familiar, would you mind kind of discussing what that fully entails? And if somebody was interested in doing it, how would they do so?
Sure. The best way is to just reach out to us here at NPCA at precast.org. And
Perfect.
We will get you enrolled in that program. There is online learning that takes place, and then there's a hands-on practical. You have an opportunity to have access to some of the best precast minds in the industry to accomplish it. And it is a wonderful self-achievement because you've got to want it. You've got to do it. Yep. And if you wake up and you just kind of, take that day on and be part of that 5 a.m. club, that's the other thing you'll find out. Precasters get up mighty early. So when I say I love to smell precast in the morning, I mean it. While I'm not making precast in the morning, I'm usually up by 4:30, 5 a.m. Every single morning. My members are up, and I just love to get my day started. And so that's the other thing is, it's not so much the process involved in the check marks that you have to go through to complete that course. It is the self-professional development of accomplishment. That's the biggest takeaway of that course.
Yeah. And then, of course, they're always celebrated at the Precast show every year, the new
They
graduates.
they absolutely are. It is, to use a technical term, a big deal.
Yes, I fully agree. I have one final question for you, and I'm not sure if Jillian has any afterwards, but back to the Precast show. Absolutely sure you remember there was that young boy who was in attendance, and he hung around with us a lot, and
Yes.
yeah, we were just kind of all having a good time. And I know that you did something special for him, if you don't mind elaborating on what you did for him.
So one of the fun things that we do here at the Precast show is we have what I affectionately have termed as the prize patrol. And so there's this big cart that you push around, and it's a drawing. You have to be present to win. It has flashing lights on it. Dwayne, our CFO, is the game show host there, but also he's the CFO, so he's going to be in charge of the prize patrol.
Of course.
No, it's not like Publishers Clearinghouse, but you would think it was by the big hullabaloo that goes along with it.
For sure.
And there was this little kid. So Dwayne has 2 daughters. My wife and I, we have 3 kids, and he was following Dwayne around for like 3-4 hours one day. And finally, he just looks at him. He's like, "Hey, kid, what's going on?" He said, "Oh, well, how do I?" Because I think it says like $10,000 in price. He's like, "Well, how do I win?" and he said, "Well, you've got to, you kind of have to register, and it's kind of like for adults only kind of thing." And the kid just looks so absolutely he was bummed.
Yeah.
And he kept following Dwayne around for like the next day, hoping that maybe somehow somebody would change the rules. So we went over, we took him, it's not cement, it's concrete shirt and a little baseball hat, and it just made his day.
Yes. Yeah, I remember that. So he was a fun time with the show. Probably maybe my favorite part, honestly, because he was just so enthusiastic.
But Caitlyn, how old do you think he was?
I think he was around maybe? Like 10. Yeah.
10. So here's the deal. The people that he was with, they're not going to run the family business forever. And that kid someday, Caitlyn, he's your next generation. They're already there at the show at 10 years old.
Yeah, I think he said that he's been going to shows since he was like 3 years old. So he's been to plenty of Precast shows.
So here's the wild part, right? I'm mid-40s. He could be my board chairman someday.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
That's what's really cool about Precast, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
He could be the chair of NPCA someday.
Yes.
So let me do this as we wrap things up, if that's okay. I want to, if you don't mind, Caitlyn, I want to leave your listeners with the challenge. And if you want to get involved in Precast, you need to do it.
Yes.
If you want to try to start a Precast business, try it. There has never been a better time, and you will never in your life have a better opportunity to be an entrepreneur than in Precast. Or if you're already in Precast, encourage a friend to get involved. Take that step out and create jobs and opportunities. Come to the show, because I guarantee you that the Precast show and NPCA is and will be by your side every step of the way.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Jillian, unless Jillian, you have any last thoughts?
I don't think so. I think that's a perfect note to end it on.
I agree. All right. So once again,
you're welcome. Was fun.
I agree. So thank you for being here today and speaking with us about the NPCA. And then just lastly, too, thank you, listeners, for your time today. You can find our next episode wherever you prefer to listen to your podcasts. Be sure to follow us on social media to see all the latest and greatest updates about our next episode release and any tease to our next guest and topic or more. So thank you, everybody, and listen to you'll listen to us next time. We won't hear you, but you'll hear us.